So education changes lives, but sometimes it changes the world. Yun arrived in Southampton from Seoul in the autumn of 2022, excited and a little apprehensive. He enrolled in a master's in energy and sustainability, and he was driven by a passion to tackle climate change. But stepping off the plane, Yun very quickly realized that higher education in the UK was about more than lectures and exams. It was about people, belonging, and responsibility. The first few weeks felt very unfamiliar, the academic style, the weather, and even the rhythm of daily life. Yun worried about speaking up in seminars, and he missed the comfort of home-cooked meals. Then something shifted. During a campus welcome event, Yun met students from Brazil, from Nigeria, from Poland. They all had similar hopes and fears, and this moment planted a seed of connection. Yun joined the university's Sustainability Society, thinking it would help him learn about renewable energy. What he found was a community. Together, they organized recycling drives, hosted workshops for local schools, and they partnered with a charity in order to reduce food waste in the city. These experiences taught Yun that when knowledge becomes powerful, when it serves others. Support came from unexpected places. When Yun struggled with a complex research project, his professor put on additional classes. His classmates got together and they formed study groups that turned into friendships. Care wasn't just academic, it was cultural. Yun was invited to a multicultural celebration for New Year. Sharing traditions and stories reminded him that diversity is not a challenge, but a strength. By the end of his degree, Yun had grown in ways that he never imagined. His dissertation on community-based solar projects was recognized by a global NGO. Today, he works as a project lead for a global renewable energy initiatives, partnering with governments and charities around the world to deliver solar microgrid solutions to rural communities in Southeast Asia and Africa. His work has already brought clean energy to thousands of households, reducing carbon emissions and improving quality of life. Higher education gave Yun more than knowledge, it gave him care, connection, and global responsibility. And that, perhaps, is the true purpose of learning. So what if higher education wasn't just about knowledge, but about connection, care, and global responsibility? Yun's experience reminds us that higher education is about more than acquiring knowledge. It's about living in a different culture, navigating a new structure, and learning not only about your subject, but about yourself, your society, and the society that you're studying within. Yet, here's the reality. Relatively few UK students actually experience international mobility. Outward rates have fallen sharply from 8.8% in 2018 to 2019, down to 3.5% in 2021-22. This means that only 2% of students in the UK are benefiting from study abroad opportunities, despite strong evidence that mobility enhances academic success and employability. This means that most UK students are actually missing out on the opportunities to study abroad, to develop the global skills, intercultural competence, and professional networks that employers increasingly demand, skills that are critical in today's global workforce. At the same time, universities often assume that international students will develop connections on their own initiative, but policy and research seen here tell a different story. Feelings of isolation and a lack of belonging are amongst the biggest challenges for international students, and these directly impact on their well-being and their academic success. When students feel seen, supported, and valued, their outcomes improve, they engage more fully in learning, and they report higher satisfaction and develop stronger intercultural skills. When belonging is missing, confidence suffers. And when global engagement is treated as optional, we miss the chance to prepare graduates for an interconnected world. So consider this. There are 6.9 million internationally mobile students around the world, generating over $300 billion annually in direct, indirect, and induced economic benefits. But many of these students report concerns about community and relationships as their biggest challenge. If we believe that higher education is about fostering global responsibility, then fostering connection and care cannot be left to chance. Intercultural learning, inclusive pedagogy, peer mentoring, these are not just nice-to-have initiatives, they're essential for building empathy, insight, and the kinds of global citizenship that our world needs. So when we talk about international education, let's remember it's not only just about what students learn in the classroom, it's about the bridges that they build, the perspectives that they gain, and the communities that they create. That is the deeper purpose of higher education, and it's time that we make it central. If higher education is about more than knowledge, if it is about preparing students for a globally connected world, then we have an obligation to ensure that every student leaves university with the empathy, the insight, and the intercultural competence to thrive and to lead in a global society. We must ask, how do we design education as a space of belonging? This is where inclusive internationalization comes in. It's not just about recruiting students or sending students abroad. It's about embedding global perspectives into the curriculum and into campus life so that every student, whether they're mobile or not, develop the skills and empathy to thrive in a global society. This is defined as the purposeful integration of international and intercultural dimensions into the formal and informal curriculum for all students. Why does this matter? Research shown here shows that mobility, whether it's short-term or virtual, builds confidence. It builds intercultural competence and global citizenship. Students who study abroad, they're more likely to achieve a first-class degree and to secure graduate-level jobs, and the benefits are greater for underrepresented groups. Research also shows us that students thrive when they experience belonging and recognition. The Office for Students in the UK highlights that feelings of isolation and lack of community are amongst the biggest challenge for students, and they directly impact on well-being and academic success. So how do we do this? Consider dual degrees, partnerships between universities that allow students to earn qualifications from two institutions, perhaps in different countries. For example, a UK archaeology student might complete their degree in China, graduating with expertise in two scientific systems, opening doors to an international career and deepening their cultural understanding. Not every student can travel. Technology bridges the gaps between continents, enabling us to use collaborative online international learning to connect classrooms. Imagine engineering students at Southampton working with peers in India to design sustainable water systems. They're building their technical skills and their intercultural skills without even leaving home. Inclusive internationalization means co-production. So at Southampton, international students are collaborating with staff. They're creating multilingual resources for new arrivals, guides that reflect real student voices. This isn't just about support, it's about empowerment. It's about giving students agency and building a culture of belonging. But here's the critical point. These initiatives move us away from a traditional pedagogy where things are done for students towards co-production. Students as partners in designing learning experiences, leading projects, and shaping global dialogues. It fosters agency, not just awareness. It empowers students to take initiative, to lead, and to see themselves as actors in a global community. So if we want higher education to be a space of belonging, we must embed inclusive internationalization as a core principle. When students collaborate across cultures, when they co-create knowledge, they don't just learn, they become global citizens. So nothing speaks louder than the voices of students themselves. Their stories show how these experiences transform confidence, worldview, and aspirations. I was terrified before I came. New country, new culture, no idea what to expect. But now I'm not the same person. I've learned the resilience, independence, and my voice matters. That confidence will stay with me for life. Back home, I was the first in my family to finish high school. Coming here was overwhelming, navigating systems I'd never seen before. But I've learned to adapt, to ask for help, and to believe I belong in spaces I never imagined. I used to think education was about memorizing in exams. Here I learned critical thinking. At first I was shocked. Why did they want my opinion? But now I see the value of dialogue. It's changed how I see knowledge and how I see myself. Studying in the UK opened my world. I came for music, but I discovered diversity, languages, cultures, and ideas. I've taught in local schools, I've joined volunteering projects, and now I dream of creating programs that connect communities through music. Now to the study abroad students. Flying to the other side of the world terrified me, but studying in New Zealand broadened my horizons beyond archaeology. I learned to say yes to bungee jumping, whitewater rafting, and cultural exchange, and that mindset will stay with me for life. My semester in Norway changed everything. I was nervous about studying abroad, and because of my lack of confidence, but 5 months in Bergen made me independent, open-minded, and excited to meet new people. Now I'm planning to travel more and to explore opportunities that I never thought were possible. Adapting to a completely new culture was challenging but rewarding. From bowing to speaking Japanese, I learned to change parts of myself to fit into a new world. That experience gave me flexibility and friendships that I will treasure forever. These voices remind us that international education isn't just about degrees, it's about transformation. It's about building confidence, fostering empathy, and shaping global citizens. It ensures that students feel seen, that they feel supported, and that they feel valued, empowering them ready to lead and collaborate across cultures. That is the true power of higher education. So what do these stories tell us? They tell us that two things matter. Belonging matters. Students flourish when they feel seen, supported, and valued. This is especially true for international students. When belonging is missing, confidence suffers. When belonging is present, students thrive, not just academically, but personally and socially. Secondly, global engagement is not a luxury, it's a necessity. In a world that is interconnected and interdependent, graduates need more than knowledge. They need the empathy and adaptability and the ability to collaborate across cultures. They're not just nice to have skills, they're essential for navigating and shaping the future. Higher education cannot remain business as usual. We need to rethink our roles as educators, as institutions, and as students. Because it's a public good, it creates social benefits beyond individual earnings, fostering democratic governance, social tolerance, and global citizenship. Universities are not just knowledge factories, they're spaces that build bridges across cultures, disciplines, and borders, equipping graduates with the empathy and intercultural competence that they need to navigate and shape an interconnected world. In an era of polarization and global challenges, higher education must be reimagined as a collaborative, inclusive force for equity and social transformation. Places where students don't just acquire knowledge, but they learn to collaborate across difference, to lead with empathy, and to act with global responsibility. This is moving beyond traditional models where things are done for students towards co-creation, where students are partners in shaping their learning and the world. If we want graduates who can shape a better world, we must build universities that reflect it. Places of belonging, places of courage, and places of connection across borders. This transforms them from academic institutions into human sanctuaries. They become nurturing communities where students are empowered to develop, not just intellectually, but personally and socially, equipping them for a complex world through meaningful engagement, embracing authenticity, and the resilience to learn from what can be new and challenging experiences. When we make belonging and global engagement central to what we do, we don't just educate students, we empower global citizens. Thank you.